Welcome to the Hitting the Jets pod, a Common Man Sports podcast. I'm your host, Nick Antonianis, along with my co-host, Mike Marole and Owen Doran. And today we're going to be talking about week 2 of the Jets game that they defeated the Tennessee Titans by a final score of 24-17. It was a little bit of a messy game back and forth. At the end of the first half, I honestly thought that this game was going to be going to the Titans' favor. But then the youngest player in the NFL currently, Braylon Allen, just came out of nowhere and got 2 touchdowns. It was basically just a whole running back game in general for the Jets. Breece Hall ended up getting a touchdown, and so did Braylon Allen with 2 touchdowns. But there's a lot of questions to be answered about this specific game. So, Mike, I'm going to give you this first question. What was wrong with this Jets team this past Sunday?
I think I said in the preseason previews, whatever, my biggest fear is Nathaniel Hackett. That whole first quarter, that non-synchronous, what's the word? They're not synchronized, whatever the word is. They couldn't get it going. And in my mind, I don't know if I texted you, Nick, Nathaniel Hackett was the problem. I feel like after that first quarter, Aaron Rodgers took over. That's the rush that we expected to see. Besides the offense, though, that defense sucks. It's not the same that I saw last year. We let all that rushing yards to Jordan Mason last week, who I didn't even know who he was until he started scoring or started rushing 100 yards on us. This week, we let Tony Pollard rush all over us when that guy sucked all last year. He has been good this year, but still. This is one of the top defenses. We missed DJ Reed, which is fine because we have Sauce Gardner, we have Michael Carter, who signed that big deal, so we should be fine. Yet, Will Levis was throwing dimes to Calvin Ridley. So the only reason we won this game was because of the 2 quarterbacks on the field. Will Levis throwing away the game, literally, to the Jets' favor, and Aaron Rodgers coming clutch in the fourth quarter, going down the field on third downs with Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams.
It was nice to see Mike Williams play a little bit because they're still trying to ease him back into it. I know in week 1 he was only there for a little bit, and then he had this incredible catch in week 2. And when you mentioned about Rodgers, he threw for 176 yards and he got 2 touchdowns, and he still hasn't lost 2 straight games to start the season, which is a very interesting stat. So he's 1-1. He finally got his first win as a New York Jet quarterback. I do agree with the fact that Nathaniel Hackett, we only got him for Aaron Rodgers, and still he's a problem. But another thing that I can say that was a big positive, Will McDonald, he sacked Will Levis 3 times, I believe. And I know that we mentioned in the beginning of the year, Owen, you mentioned that Will McDonald did not have a great first year, and you were hoping for a bounce back year, and it's kind of starting to look like it. I know it's Tennessee Titans, don't have a great defense, but some exciting stuff to see as a Jet fan. Someone that we drafted very high, and it was more of a fit pick. He's starting to look like he's starting to come through for this Jets team.
Yeah, no, it was great to get the win. First one of the season, first of many, but it's not a very inspiring win. Doesn't really, boost your confidence going into the rest of the year. Like Mike said, I got to piggyback on it. The defense isn't the same as they were last year. Obviously, we lost Bryce Huff. That was a big loss for us. But the team just doesn't feel the same. They're not getting those massive stops. They're not turning the ball over. Sorry, Sam. They're not turning. Sorry, noise. But so the defense just isn't getting a ton of stops. Obviously, they're the ones who kept them in this game because they kept Tennessee at 10 points in the first half. They got the field goal right at halftime. So the defense is what kept them in the game this week. But it was against Will Levis, who, he's a bad quarterback. There's only one way to put it, bad. You saw the coach's reaction to his fumble. That's a quarterback who you should be pummeling points on, and you should be holding them to 1 touchdown. Maybe, 1 touchdown. I think 2 touchdowns to the Titans isn't, that's not good enough for a team that we're saying is supposed to be making a playoff push. So that was a little disappointing. And then obviously Jermaine Johnson getting injured out for the entire season, huge loss for the Jets as well. For an already struggling line, we're getting run all over. We're playing Ramondre Stevenson tomorrow. I assume he's going to run all over us again. So that's a huge loss for the Jets. It's going to be a bit concerning moving forward because obviously they haven't gotten the Reddick deal done yet, so he's not around. And they're going to need the guys who are there. The Quentin Williams is going to have to step up. Will McDonald's really going to have to step up more than he was expected to, which is a bit concerning. The one positive, though, to take away from this was Braylon Allen, youngest player to score a touchdown in the modern era. He looked like a beast. He's only like, what was it, 21 years old? I know he looks like he's going to be around for a while for the Jets, and it's great that Breece Hall and him are going to be running the offense because I can say I'm confident in them too. Garrett Wilson, he's been a little bit shaky to start the year, hasn't gotten a touchdown yet, even though he's not a big touchdown threat. He just hasn't really seemed like the same type of receiver he was last year. I know it's only 2 weeks in, so, maybe he's just shaking off a bit of rust, but it seems like the passing offense just hasn't gotten going, and it's a little concerning. Playing Christian Gonzalez this week, so, I can't expect Garrett Wilson to have a huge game as well. But, hopefully Aaron Rodgers can kind of pick it up, start dishing out 200-yard games and getting the offense going.
It's going to be interesting to see because tomorrow will be the first game of at home. It's going to be at MetLife. So MetLife is going to be going crazy, I think, because, you're going to be going up against the Patriots. Jet fans despise the Patriots. First game back for Rodgers after the infamous moment that happened last year. So there's going to be a lot into this game coming up for the New York Jets. The other thing I kind of wanted to just say is that I personally think that the points that the Jets got, super lucky because of how terrible Will Levis is. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and they were still able to give him 17 points. I mean, Calvin Ridley, he ended up getting 2 touchdowns. One was a 10-yard run, and then the other one was a 40-yard run, which was kind of expected because, this rushing game for this Jets team has still been a huge problem. And now with the loss of Jermaine Johnson, and we're still waiting for that contract extension for Hassan Reddick, who he actually lost $8 million because he has been sitting on the sideline, still trying to negotiate on a contract with the Jets. And I know we've been talking about it almost every single episode about when is this contract going to happen. At this point right now, I don't know why they're still waiting. I think it's mainly because he wants that big money and the Jets are very stubborn to give it to him. But he's losing money by not playing. At this point, let him play. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
We kind of sound like a broken record almost every single episode. We're talking about this, just saying get the deal done. With this Johnson injury, the Jets have zero leverage when it comes to negotiating. I don't know what you can even negotiate now. The defense is depleted. They need Reddick, so it's kind of comes down to you got to give him what he wants. You have no room to negotiate yourself down, and it is what it is. Get it done and move forward. Have him there for the Broncos.
He's hurting the team so bad with that. And imagine they lost to Tennessee. The pressure would be on the Jets to get that done right away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just so frustrating. The fact that he left the Eagles because he wanted a deal. He didn't get the deal and he was like, I don't want to play. And then Douglas was like, we're not trading him. I don't even know what you can get out of him, but I don't know. It's just frustrating at the end of the day.
It's just the Jets are always going to be the Jets. Even when they have a good roster, there's going to be something that just, they're the Jets. They traded for a guy who was holding out with the Eagles and wanted a contract extension. You traded for him. And then are you surprised that he still wants a contract extension? What did you expect to change?
Yeah.
This was always on the table. I don't know what they were kind of thinking there. It seems like a huge misstep with the front office and Joe Douglas, who's been obviously very good for the Jets since he joined them, but it just seems like a huge misstep. He should have been ready week 1, and maybe they would have won week 1. Should have been 2-0. Who knows? But at this point, with the injuries and with how they've been performing, it's kind of gotten to the point where it's just, we have to get it done.
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of want to move over to another topic I want to talk about. So I mentioned already that the Jets are going to be going up against the New England Patriots tomorrow at MetLife. It's going to be prime game, Thursday Night Football. First Thursday Night Football game for the Jets this season. But I kind of want to give you guys your thoughts and opinions on what do you kind of expect going into this game. I know we mentioned it a tiny bit, but kind of just more of like elaborate a little bit more of what to expect for tomorrow's game and what you're expecting to see.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Brees Hall and Braylon Allen to kind of just take over again. This Patriots team is bad. Like it's the only way to describe them. Just like Will Levis, they're bad. And I think this is the year the Jets can actually, take 2 games off of the Patriots. Obviously, I don't want to get ahead of myself. That game's not for another however many weeks. So, we got to focus on just the one game ahead of us. But the Patriots aren't a good team. Jacoby Brissett is average. He's just there to kind of keep them afloat while Drake May kind of cooks up on the bench. And, he's ready next year to take over the team. Their receivers are average. Their only offensive weapon they have is Ramondre Stevenson. The only person that can really do anything and score points for them is Ramondre. Obviously, the Jets struggle at stopping the run, but we saw how they did with Tony Pollard this week. They held him to 0 touchdowns, kept him out of the end zone. So if they can do the same with Ramondre Stevenson, it would suck for my fantasy team, but it would be great for the Jets. So, I think this is a game where they need to build up momentum. 24-17 wasn't inspiring, but if they go out and they beat the Patriots by double digits, a team that they should be beating by double digits regardless. But it's also a divisional game, rivalry game. Patriots have had our number for the last decade. It's finally the Jets' chance to just kind of take over that rivalry. And the fans are going to be loud. It's going to be a great game. The energy is going to be amazing. I'm super excited to watch and just see the Jets just stomp on them. Obviously, there's no Bill Belichick, so it's not going to be as nice, but it's the Patriots nonetheless. So just beating them is just the best.
Well, I think it's going to be more of like a kicking game. I do think like the Jets will win. Obviously, that's my hope. The Patriots have, I want to say they've been bad. I haven't watched any of their games. They did beat Cincinnati first week. They almost beat Seattle last week. They forced I think Seattle forced them to overtime. I do think the Jets will win, but I think Greg Zuerlein's going to have a night. Looking back on how the Patriots been allowing the offense go, they kind of been stopping the run a bit. I don't know, not Ramondre. Last week, Zach Charbonnet only had, I want to say 30 yards, but a lot of them, he had a lot of receiving yards. So I think Brees Hall could get a lot of receiving yards. Week 1, he stopped Zach Moss, but he did score a touchdown. So I'm looking for a big day of Brees in the air. Owen talked about before, Garrett Wilson's going to be guarded by Christian Gonzalez. So not really expecting too much there, but I do think Rodgers will be able to get down the field. Hopefully see Braylon Allen get going. And defensively, Jacoby Brissett should not be a problem. But then again, we said it about Will Levis this week. So it's going to go to show how can you stop Ramondre Stevenson and
Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
came
even
out
know.
of nowhere last week.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that. And like you also have to consider that CJ Mosley might not play as well because he did hurt his toe on Sunday. And I don't know if DJ Reed is back yet too.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you guys know if he's possibly coming back for tomorrow's game.
Like Mosley, I don't think so because that's Sunday and it's Thursday. I doubt he's gonna play. DJ Reed, hopefully. But then again, do you really corner help? Like, we have 2 good corners.
And it's not like the Patriots are really, a threat at receiver.
So I just saw. I'm looking at a report right now. They said that DJ Reed was at full practice participant. So maybe it'll be a game time decision for him for tomorrow. But he didn't play on Sunday, so he has he had more time to rest. It's not like he played Sunday. He got hurt on Sunday and then he had to play on Thursday because those players, they're most likely not going to play because of the short amount of time that they have to prepare for a Thursday night football game. But you guys proved all the points there about like Stevenson just is going to be a big problem for this Jets team. I think that he's better than Tony Pollard, in my personal opinion. And I think that it will be a little bit more of a difficult task for the Jets. I don't even know any of their receivers, brutally honest. I'm talking about like the Patriots. So I think that shouldn't be a problem. What you say?
Demario Douglas. A third stringer on any team is their wide receiver one.
They drafted a rookie, didn't they? Javon Baker.
Polk.
They did have.
There's some Washington rookie, Polk.
I have no. I mean, they did have Juju, but they released him. So
I don't know. Knowing the Jets, he's gonna have a breakout game tomorrow, and it's gonna be like a punt-winning touchdown by Xavier Gibson.
Yeah, but the receiving side of it shouldn't be a problem. It's just more of the rushing game, and I think it's going to be a rushing game on both sides. So,
well, hopefully Seattle did throw the ball pretty well. DK got over 100 yards and a touchdown, so they got in behind them. Their secondary, Christian Gonzalez is he's been solid to start his career, but I mean, at the end of the day, we have who's supposed to be one of the better receivers in the league. And he has to get going at some point. 57 yards isn't a terrible game for Garrett Wilson, but at some point he's going to have to, pick it up and get going. The Patriots is a perfect game for that. The Jets are going to be scoring. They're going to be moving the ball well. It's a perfect game to build up momentum for the Jets. They have the Vikings the week after, the Broncos the week after. That should be another game that they win, and it's just building momentum. That's what they have to do right now. This is the easiest stretch of their schedule, and it's important to just build up momentum for when they have to play the Vikings, who actually haven't been that bad. Everyone expected that to be kind of a easier game, but they've actually shown that they're pretty decent this year, and they have some tougher games on their schedule later on. They got the Bills soon enough, and the Dolphins. Tua will probably be back by then, so I think the game tomorrow and then the week after, it's important for them just to score a lot, get the offense going, get Mike Williams involved, get Garrett Wilson involved more, get Malachi Corley in the game a bit more, and just get those weapons moving and working.
Go ahead.
The last time that Christian Gonzalez and Garrett Wilson went up against each other, he only let Wilson get 5 receptions for less than 50 yards. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen tomorrow, because that Gonzalez will be guarding Wilson. And I've been seeing so many stats almost every single time that Gonzalez plays a game. Those interesting stats of how many yards does he let these top receivers get. Look, Gonzalez is great. He was the best cornerback in that draft class. And he got drafted so low going into the Patriots. But, hopefully this is going to – he did give up a touchdown to DK. But hopefully Garrett Wilson will find a way to stop Gonzalez so he can actually get some yards out of Gonzalez, because he had his number so far.
In that DK touchdown, it was I think that was on the safety. I think they were running a zone, and that was more out to the left where Gonzalez was on the right. I didn't watch the game. I just saw that clip because I was looking for Gonzalez to see where he was, and he wasn't on DK for that. But
yeah, I think he only got 30 yards on DK, 30, 40 of his yards on Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, DK had a 100-yard game, and Jackson Smith and Jigba had 100 yards too.
Yeah, he had 120 yards. Seattle was moving the ball well.
Yeah, that's why you think you would get a blowout win if you had that and a decent running back.
I think the Patriots defense was a bit overrated going into that game. Obviously they did great against the Bengals, but I saw somewhere that the Bengals start terribly all the time. They were 1-5 to start last year. So it's they kind of get off to these slow starts pretty often. So I think it's just another case of that with the Patriots week 1. Jamar Chase didn't have a training camp. He didn't play in preseason, and they just weren't ready to go. A team that's already performed bad to start the season in previous years wasn't ready to go week 1, and they lost. That's kind of expected. So I think, people were kind of a little high on the Patriots going into week 2 just because of that, and kind of seen it corrected a little bit by the Seahawks. Obviously, it still went to overtime. It was still a tight game, but the two receivers getting over 100 yards kind of puts into question how great this secondary really is.
That's why I'm expecting a big game out of Brees Hall in the air, because we talk about how Gonzalez is obviously going to cover Wilson, but he still should get receptions. And Mike Williams still on limited snaps. I would love to see him get more involved. And like Alan Lazard is also there for Rodgers and Conklin, who Rodgers doesn't really use. That's why I don't really blame Rodgers for all these he keeps averaging what he have 165 passing yards in the San Francisco game, then 170 last week. He could hit 200 easily as long as he has his receivers going. And Wilson is not going, but if he relies on Brees, I think we'll be fine. Because as I mentioned before, last week they had Charbonnet in the air the whole game.
I think we're kind of just seeing more running offense across the entire NFL though. I seen somewhere saying we're in a running back era again. I think who was it? My brother sent me some numbers. It was 66 touchdowns passing touchdowns have been thrown through week 2, which is a lowest within the last decade. So we're definitely seeing the league kind of change back over into a running league, which is a little, disappointing. Offense is, in the air offense is more exciting, but the Jets have 2 great running backs, so it's great for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember you mentioned before the season started that you were very high on Allen because, you have the youngest NFL player in the currently, and he showed off last Sunday. And it kind of makes me very fortunate that we have 2 very good running backs. Brees Hall, he looks incredible. I wouldn't say incredible. He's looking very good. He did have a good bounce back last Sunday. But it's just very fortunate that you have 2 very good running backs on your team. But it does kind of suck that you're not getting much wide receiving touchdowns, especially from your top wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. The only 2 wide receiving touchdowns are from Alan Lazard. Is that correct? I'm assuming because I know he had.
Yeah, Braylon Allen.
Brees and Braylon Allen both had a receiving touchdown.
Yeah,
but from the wide receiver room, Alan Lazard's the only one to get a touchdown. But I mean, I wouldn't say that's not the worst thing in the world, I guess, because obviously talking about a different side of it, the business side of it, they have contracts that are going to be coming up in the next few years, and that's going to be a kind of an issue to deal with for the Jets. They're going to have Sauce, Garrett Wilson, and Brees Hall, who they'll all have to pay. They're all going to be asking for a lot of money. If we're running the ball a lot, then Garrett Wilson can't really ask for the same amount of money, because I've seen Jamar Chase turned down $140 million. Same deal as Justin Jefferson, so he's going to want more. Then there's a possibility that Garrett Wilson, Olave, and all these other guys are going to want more again. So that's going to become a bit of an issue for the Jets if that's what comes to the table. But if he's struggling to get touchdowns, I guess the Jets would have a little bit more leverage in that situation, kind of talk him down to a lesser number, more of a team-friendly deal. The good thing about Braylon Allen is, if Brees Hall is asking for too large of a contract, you can kind of just let him walk. The lifespan of a running back is pretty short. Braylon Allen is extremely young. By the time Brees Hall is signing his new deal, Braylon Allen's only going to be 23. So what would be the point of, paying someone when you have Braylon Allen as well?
Yeah.
So I think, they're going to have some issues moving forward, contract-wise. But I think Braylon Allen does help, ease a bit of that, because you can afford to not pay a running back for another few years. Garrett Wilson, though, you don't want to see Garrett Wilson leave, but you wouldn't want to pay him $150, $160 million if he's only getting you 57 yards and no touchdowns.
Well, and also he's not that big on the touchdowns. I mean, his offensive rookie of the year season, I think he only had 4 touchdowns,
or
4 or 5 or something like that, and then had less the next year, even with a terrible quarterback. And everyone thought that he was going to have more than 5 touchdowns this season because you actually have a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's been slow. I think he'll find his way. It's Garrett Wilson, but I agree he's not worth the money that Justin Jefferson's getting or Jamar Chase is going to be wanting. I don't think Wilson's worth any of that, to be honest. Like, I love Wilson, but he's not worth it.
Yeah.
So to end our show, I want to ask you two questions. First off, record prediction for tomorrow's game and a bold prediction that you could possibly see happen. So, like, for example, for me, I'm going to say that Garrett Wilson's going to have a touchdown with 100 yards as my bold prediction. I don't know if that's really bold, but that's my prediction of what I expect to happen tomorrow. For the record, I did say that that the Titans were only going to get one touchdown, but I'm going to still have that. I'm going to say it's going to be a 24-10 victory for the Jets.
Let me go with a 19-13 score.
Making it
I'm expecting a lot of kicking. Like, I'm expecting going down the field and just kicking field goals.
I think we're going to get a few touchdowns. I mean, I'm going to go with the same. I think Patriots get 13, 2 field goals and a touchdown from Stevenson probably. But I think the Jets, I think their offense is really going to wake up, really pick up this week. I see them getting 35, 38 points.
Okay.
Now, bold prediction for me, I'm going to go.
Bold prediction.
And this is bold because it hasn't happened all year. Aaron Rodgers over 225 passing yards. Pretty bold.
Okay. Any touchdowns you want to put in there, or
no?
Oh, I'll just say Garrett Wilson. Look, I just keep thinking about that preseason game, that one preseason against the Giants they played, that little outside fade to Garrett Wilson. Mm-hmm. The chemistry is there. Let them get 5 yards at the red zone. Let Breece Hall get stuffed, and Nathaniel Hackett calls a pass call to Garrett Wilson. It could happen. I see it happening. He's due.
Okay.
For me, I'll give 2 hot takes, 2 bold predictions. We saw Braylon Allen obviously get introduced this week, 33 yards, touchdown, 23 receiving yards, touchdown. I think he's going to have another touchdown along with Breece Hall, so I think they're both going to have a touchdown. And then another rookie is going to have his introduction. Obviously, he got a reception, but only for 4 yards. But I think Malachi Corley is going to get over 40 receiving yards.
Oh.
Nothing easy, but, he's going to get involved. He's going to get a few receptions, maybe a long one, who knows. But I think, we're going to see him featured a little bit more.
He could be a guy that's perfect for this game because isn't he more of a slot guy? And say Garrett Wilson's getting covered, let's say maybe even double teamed, and you have this guy running through the zone on a slant. That could definitely happen.
Yeah, I could see it. I just see them implementing their offense bit by bit. It didn't get we've been saying it the past 2 weeks that the offense has been slow to pick up throughout the games. Even they didn't score until late into the first half against the Titans, and then they scored early against the 49ers, but it wasn't for a while that they got another score on the board. So I think just bit by bit, we're going to see the offense kind of wake up. So I think Braylon Allen last week is going to be Corley this week, and then the week after, maybe Mike Williams.
You really like those young guns for the Jets.
Hey, got to be excited about the future, man. You got to be excited about the future.
I like that. All right, that's fair. All right, so I think that's a good time that we can end our show. So thank you guys for watching today's episode. Next week, we're going to try our best to get in another Common Man Sports member, Brandon Murdoch, and see his predictions about, or his overall opinion about the Patriots, and hopefully they lose, and we can see a little.
He's only allowed to come on if they lose. If they win, he's not allowed.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So let's hope that they lose so we can see a sad Brandon Murdoch because, he needs to get humbled. Be sure to check us out on X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow on TikTok. My name is Nick Antoniadis, along with Mike Roll and Owen Doran. Thank you guys for coming into the show, and we will see you guys soon.